After both sides met in the finals of the Champions League last season, Liverpool and Tottenham Hotspur renew hostilities in the Premier League this weekend. Welcome to the Nutmeg on Guardian TV. My name is Solomon Fowe and Dennis is here in the studio with us. How's it going, man?
Very well, Solomon. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So, Liverpool against Spurs this weekend. We saw that they've gone through different parts, you would say, after the Champions League finals between Liverpool and Spurs. We saw Liverpool win that. But this season, you expected them to have picked up from that. But it's entirely different fortunes for both sides. Liverpool are currently first with 25 points, while Tottenham is seventh with 12 points. Why is Tottenham struggling?
Tottenham is struggling for different kind of indices. Indices in the sense that if you look at it from the part of the player, you want to say that coming into the new season, a whole lot of players were hell-bent of leaving the club, whereas the club hierarchy in itself, you talk about the big man in Tottenham, Daniel Levy, were hell-bent on not allowing these players to leave, and then at some point he also crossed to the part of the manager, talking about Mauricio Pochettino, whom rumors started lingering after the Champions League final that he might be on his way out of Tottenham. And then also look at the biggest transfer saga that befell Tottenham from the start of the season, which was about Jan Vertonghen leaving the club. That played out for about like 3-4 matches. He was on the bench, and also at a time we realized that Tottenham were not so compact from the dressing room even onto the pitch. And then I think all of this were just as a result, and I think their current state right now in the Premier League and also generally in the season are just as a result of these background issues that they failed to deal with. And then, like you rightly said, Tottenham sitting on 7th position right now, 9 points. 9 points. They've lost 3 matches, drawn 3, and also won just 3 matches. And you want to say that this is not supposed to be what Tottenham ought to be starting the season with. But I think it's high time the issues are beginning to be addressed so that the team can really pick up.
The interesting thing to note about Spurs this season is the fact that they're probably doing numbers as poor as the first season of Mauricio Pochettino. Pochettino has spent 5 years at Tottenham. This is his 5th year in Tottenham. And you tend to look at, okay, if you're going to be following it in a 3-year cycle that some
Alex Ferguson
some people have spoken about, that, you have to find a way to reinvent the team within a 3-year cycle. Maybe he's done that in the first 3 years, and or maybe has overstayed his welcome. I'm not so sure. But I just want to point out that it is the numbers they're currently doing when it comes to chance creation, when it comes to goals scored, when it comes to goals conceded, shots faced. They mirror the numbers of his first season. Do you think this side is on a serious nosedive?
I think the team is on the low side. It's currently descending in quality, in the sense that, like you said, in Pochettino's first season, you want to also agree with me that after Pochettino took over from Sherwood, I think, after he took over from Sherwood, the team was not as this balanced, and then it took a whole lot of work all throughout that season to get this team stable in the way that it is. And let us also not forget that ever since Pochettino has taken over this team for the past 4 seasons, he's always ensured that Tottenham, get a place in the top 4 of the Premier League table. So, but then all of this reoccurring is just telling you that there is something that has not been done, over the years, even while the team was on the ascendancy, and which is, even as the team grows on and on, you try to bring in different structures, you try to reinvent your style of play, you try to bring in, try new things out, and I think this Tottenham team have just been lacking all of that. And also, if you look at the fact that Tottenham in itself, before the start of the season rather, Pochettino wanted to bring in players, but he was not allowed to do so.
But yes, my grasp with that line of thinking. Well, he wanted to bring in players, but that's Tottenham spent a whole lot of money this season. They brought in Ryan Sessegnon, they brought in Tanguy Ndombele, they brought in a player from Leeds. His name misses me now. Those additions to the side,
you cannot,
they're quality additions.
There you go again. You call them quality additions.
Oh, I even forgot to mention Giovanni Lo Celso.
Now, would you consider or would you compare those sort of additions to the sort of addition that a team like Liverpool will make, a team like Manchester City will make? Fine, you could toe the line of an argument that Tottenham and Liverpool are not the same.
Exactly,
are not on the same
context.
level. But then, if you're to put it down on this context, I will tell you that Tottenham have steadily rose to that level where you want to place where you want to place the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool in the Premier League, because for crying out loud, Tottenham made the Champions League final last season.
Let us forget that this is a team that is also building that has built a stadium, and they have to pay all of these monies back.
Now, building a stadium, it is not of the same narrative that Arsenal used in building the Emirates Stadium, if you want to go that line. And then, you know, all of this is just telling us that Tottenham are just focusing on probably, you know, the structure or the physical structure of the club itself, and not necessarily the structure of the team, which is what Pochettino has always complained about. And that was also when, you know, he came outside in the media to come talk about how he's met with Daniel Levy a couple of times and let him understand that this team have really grown in stature but has not grown in structure, and that is why this team is suffering.
Now you can see that a couple of players, maybe except Eriksen and say Danny Rose, they were tied to long-term deals, like 6-year deals then. That's like 2-3 years ago.
And then he was also part of the players that wanted to leave the club.
And most of them, you would say, they are tied down for the lengthy hour. Would you say that it's coming on field now? We've seen that the chance creation, like I said earlier, it's has seriously suffered, saying that Eriksen has not been around. Would you say that is the one crucial factor that has made Tottenham look a shadow of themselves, that's compared to last season?
It is also a part of it, because you know that it is also very dangerous to keep a player that does not want to stay, which are part of the things that you learn from managers like Alex Ferguson.
But fair to Eriksen is not a divisive figure in the dressing room.
Yeah, he's not a divisive figure, but then what do you talk about about Vertonghen? You know, Vertonghen is a leader of the team, and even if he's not on the field of play, he still commands and wields some level of respect and influence, you know, over other players in the team. You know, even the likes of Harry Kane also. But you look at the context we're talking about in this place. You know, I think it is, like I said earlier, it is wrong to keep a player that wants to leave your club, and which is what I think Pochettino ought to be learning from the likes of Alex Ferguson. Ferguson wouldn't do something like that. Even Pep Guardiola, like we're talking about. So when you keep a player that is unhappy in your club, what you're doing in reflex is, you know, you're kind of distorting the balance of the team, because a player is not happy, you're playing him. So it means that some other players who are willing to play are being shortchanged in that regard.
Okay, it probably goes beyond what Pochettino himself can handle, saying that he is not really as influential as you would want to say when it comes to the transfer dealings of Tottenham. Now, let's draw parallels with what Liverpool has done. Now, Liverpool in the off-season didn't make any major splash in the market. It was just pretty much it was everything from last season that they've sort of grown on.
And they actually splashed.
That's on who?
Van Dijk.
Oh, no, that was last season. I'm saying in the outbreak after they won the Champions League. Now there wasn't any huge player that they brought into the side, and they've grown on their performances of last season. That's when they won the Champions League, and they only just lost 2 points to Manchester United. That was last week. So what would you say they've done right that probably Tottenham ought to that's copy when it comes to applying it to their side?
It will be very difficult for Tottenham to apply anything that Liverpool is doing right now, because don't forget that Liverpool are fresh off winning the UEFA Champions League, and
Spurs were just a game away from winning the Champions
we're just a game away. And do not forget that even before the match against Spurs, Liverpool had made it to the final even a season before that, but lost to Real Madrid. So you want to say that coming into this season, Liverpool have just, you know, continually to progress, you know, picking up from where they stopped at these 2 previous seasons. And so what that does to your players, if you're that kind of a team, is that it builds like a strong mentality. You know, your mentality is strong, you're tough physically, you're tough mentally, and then you also look at some players in the Liverpool ranks. You know, take for instance the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson. You know, the sort of quality of football that these guys play right now. You know, you just want to imagine that this is just not the usual guys that you used to see on play. So what the Champions League trophy has done is just, you know, instills a winning mentality in these players, which is what I think Tottenham is lacking.
Okay, now Liverpool against Tottenham, talking about the preview of the game itself, we saw Liverpool drop points, like I said earlier, against Manchester United. Now they're going to be facing a Spurs side. Do you see Spurs throwing spanner in the works of Liverpool's run now this season? Do you see Spurs bringing in any sort of surprise in that particular fixture?
Now I would have actually called this, like, you know, a walkover in favor of Liverpool if there was no Champions League break in between their last Premier League match against Watford, which Tottenham drew at 1-1.
Rather disappointing.
Yeah, disappointing draw. But, you know, they went into the Champions League, beat Red Star Belgrade, you know, 5-0, and then you want to say that that's actually a way to, you know, get yourself back to
perfect shot in the
arm. Get yourself back to winning ways. So with that considered, and knowing that Liverpool themselves, you know, were also pegged back a bit by Manchester United, and I think Pochettino has also would have learned a few things from the way Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's players, you know, did set up against this Liverpool team. So I think, you know, Tottenham will be a test for Liverpool, and maybe Liverpool might be dropping another point.
Oh, wow. So you see Liverpool dropping another point. Thank you so much for talking to us on the Nutmeg
Always
today.
A pleasure, Solomon.
So make sure you catch Liverpool against Spurs this weekend on TV. There are also other great games on TV across Europe. And let us know in the comment section what you think about that game between Liverpool and Spurs. Thank you so much for watching the Nutmeg on Guardian TV. If you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, you should absolutely do that already. My name is Solomon Fowe, and this has been the Nutmeg.